What's going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning to another episode of Right on Cue Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Logan Chestnut at Small Batch Barbecue. Join me tonight, Mr. Matt Osmond, Sr. of Blinky's Offset Barbecue. What's up, big dollar?
Oh, not much, man. Coming to you a little shaven tonight.
Like a time machine happened, dude. You're like you're 12. I feel like Chris Hansen's going to come on here for me talking to underage children.
Yeah, I had a ridiculous facial hair pattern for the weekend for a party, and then shaved it down to a terrible mustache. And then after that, my lighting's wanting to go. And then just the best way to go back to it is just start cleaning. My wife hates it, by the way.
I was gonna say, like, what's a wife say? Because my wife has threatened divorce.
Let me see. Hold on one second. Sorry.
No, you're good, man. No, man. My wife has straight up threatened divorce if I ever shave my my hair off. They got those filters on Snapchat and stuff like that. And my kids always like getting on, and they had that one that it shows you what your face looks like
a baby,
hairless. Yeah, hairless one. And I show because my kids have always known me with a beard, and a beard, like, it's a significant facial feature. It's like a nose. I mean, and I showed them a picture of me and my hair off, and they're like, "Who's that?"
Well, I mean, look, again, it'll grow back.
I look like Ralphie May, like whatever.
I had a job in Atlanta when I worked for the Sheraton Hotel, and our director would not let anybody in food and beverage managers have facial hair. Like, I had to be clean, and I was because that wasn't the policy. It was just his policy for his department.
No, can't do it.
Yeah, it's you feel everything. You feel everything more than you ever have before. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, man, how's it been going for you, buddy? It's been how was your last week? Anything exciting happen?
No. I mean, took the trip down to Miami, saw my folks, saw some friends, but other than that, kind of normal. Excited that perhaps, I mean, you guys got a bunch of rain,
a ton of rain,
flooding, but hopefully maybe it's starting to, the weather
get warmer. Yep.
Yeah. It was gorgeous today.
Oh, for sure. That was the only good thing about this past weekend, man. I, as a sports fan, I want to kill myself. My Kentucky Wildcats decided to drop a big goose egg against Arkansas on Saturday. Then I wake up Sunday morning to I thought it was April Fool's, that my Dallas Mavericks decided to give away Luka Doncic for a ham sandwich, essentially.
But
I thought it was a joke. I'm like, no, there's no way. That's like the Bulls trading MJ back in the 90s. I'm like,
the way it sent ripples. Like, it has sent ripples across.
It was on CNN. Like, that's how asinine this is. Like, it was so bad and so astonishingly shocking that I was like, this got to be a joke. Like, I looked at my dad sent me a message. He said, well, I guess you're happy you got Anthony Davis. I'm a Kentucky fan. Anthony Davis is a big Kentucky guy. But I was like, oh, that's awesome. Who do we trade? And then I looked at it and said, Luka Doncic. I'm like, son of a...
Yeah, no.
A lot of it explicits were said early in the morning.
But man, I mean, maybe they're right. Maybe the whole they're making stuff about his body and the whatever the jazz.
Larry Bird was not the epitome of physique back in the day, and he kicked ass. And Luka is baby Bird. So,
hey, yet to be seen. And here's the thing. Don't worry, my heater going through it with Jimmy. We've had to suspend him 3 times. So,
dude, he's a bum, dude. I wouldn't want him if you gave him to me.
But listen, the guy can hoop. At the bottom,
he's a stud.
He can hoop, and so at the end of the day, that counts for this much. But yeah, it's off the court, it's team, it's morale, it's nation. And we're gonna see. So I'm not out of the woods yet with my team as far as that goes. There's a little tiny football game. Some people want to watch it this weekend. That's going on.
Who cares? It's a snooze fest, honestly. Oh, good. It's the Patrick Mahomes and the Philadelphia. I've never seen this one before.
So is that Philly in the over? Is that what I hear?
Oh, 100%. No, I can't stand the Chiefs. It's like I feel it's the Bob and Mo show going on in football. Like, you got the Philly Eagles and fucking Mo's all Chiefs, and I'm like, I hate both of them. I hope you both get like syphilis. I don't care.
Man, it was, but you know what? You can almost write the script these days. Once Washington was out of it, because I was somewhat
and Detroit. I thought this was Detroit's year. I thought this was Detroit Lions' year. They're stacked. They were the best team in the league this year,
but apparently not, or apparently not for that game. I mean,
they choked.
But I'll tell you what, give it up to Saquon. What he's doing.
What he's been able,
like at least I can get behind that as a player for stats, for so on and so forth. Although I'm mad that he didn't go for the record, but you know, that was what it was.
Dude, I have a whole new respect for Saquon. Good for him. Good for him. But no, man, let's get back to barbecues. You know, it's funny. I haven't practiced. I haven't this is what separates me from, you know, the pros and the top two.
Who are already practicing.
Yeah, well, they don't take time off. Like that's what separates me from like the elite guys, like one of our guests we have tonight.
Yes,
definitely in that elite category. And I need to like trim chicken. I need to go over my rib, especially my ribs, because good Lord, my ribs ride the short bus to the judges' table.
This guy can cook some ribs. I have had the pleasure of cooking next to him. I have had his ribs. He is a rib fan, which is crazy because he'll tell you himself he's a pork cook. Like, I mean, he obviously ribs and pork, but pork is his strongest category. Chicken, don't sleep on it, and he has many trophies, many a 180, and brisket as well. But
I mean, dude's just a great cook all over. So. Yeah. Without further ado, man, it's Halloween here and right on cue. So we're gonna bring on stage the smoking ghost, Mr. Paul Buob. What's going on, Paul?
I was waiting to hear what guest you had queued up based on that. I was excited.
Laying it on thick, my friend. Laying it on thick, my friend. No, man. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. I really appreciate it, man. I know. When it comes to elite barbecuers like you don't have off seasons. So, you know, I appreciate the little time you're sharing with us tonight. So how's everything been going? I know we talked a little bit off camera. You, having a busy week this week.
Yeah. It's one of those weeks where about every hour of the day is scheduled for something. And, you know, fixing up the trailer, had some issues with the trailer in Omaha a week or so ago. And, you know, had maybe a few soda bottles that might have been in one of the cabinets that I forgot about at 6 degrees. kind of made a problem. And of course, Matt knows what kind of cherry soda that is too. So,
yes, I do.
But yeah, in the door, then the air conditioner. So, you know, several $1,000s later, those things are repaired. Now I'm working on the sink later tonight, going with a little flexible pipe repair.
I got you. Still got. Isn't it funny? Yeah. Like when it comes to the barbecue games, especially when you have trailers, there's always something to fix. Like I still haven't replaced my gray water tank from a year ago. I'm putting that off.
I thought you were done with that.
I mean, I fixed it. I know. I like scraped it off the day one, and I haven't fixed it since. I'm like, I put it off.
I
got too much money going out.
Been very fortunate with my trailer as far as exterior, let's say. Knock on wood, I have not blown a tire yet, which I don't know how, because I've definitely dragged it enough places. I have definitely, you know, had my issues inside. Paul has seen that. What was it? Was it 2 years ago at
Sip and Swine?
No, well, yes, Sip and Swine.
Well, Lebanon.
It was Lebanon. Both. Sip and Swine's where I had my first plumbing issue. Lebanon, I had my power issue. And
it was technically a plumbing problem as well. I've never seen an electrical box with water pouring out.
Yeah. It was quite terrible. Guys, if we can take a quick moment, I have a special guest who wants to say hello.
Sure, man. Bring little man on. Mr. VIP. Sit right here. There he is, man. That's Barbecue Junior. That's Blinky Junior over here. What's up, buddy?
Hi.
Hey.
You ready to help your dad win some barbecue trophies this year?
Mm-hmm.
You got that Justin Bieber haircut. You ready to break some songs?
No.
You'd be like your daddy. Y'all going for that same baby face.
Maybe.
Do you like
He's
him
got
clean?
a- he's got
Do you
a
like him
mustache
clean
growing in.
shaven? Do you like him clean
Yeah.
shaven?
No.
What are the girls?
Yeah, we don't either. He looked weird. I didn't know who he was. All right, buddy.
No.
It's good seeing you, man. Thank you for coming on the show, man. He's talked to me like my kids talk to me. He's like, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
daddy, whatever. Bye. No, anyway, back to our guest, man. Paul, so for the people who've been living under a rock and don't know you, tell people, the little 10-second story of who Paul is. And is it Buwab? Am I saying your last name right? All right.
Yep.
Thank you. Sorry. I didn't, I've been saying it for years now. So I want to make sure if I need to correct it, well, let people know who you are, kind of how you came up with the Smoking Ghost and all that good jazz.
Well, we're out of Illinois and literally dead center of the state of Illinois. If you drew a line between Chicago and St. Louis, cut it in half, that's where we are, right in the middle. It's just north of Peoria, a town called Chillicothe. There are five. Yeah, there's like 5 Chillicothe's: Chillicothe, Ohio, Chillicothe, Iowa, Chillicothe, Missouri, Chillicothe, Illinois, and I think Chillicothe, Texas. So big.
I couldn't spell that.
Yeah, it's a fun one when you're on the phone. But so we really, my wife bought me probably about 2013, 14 maybe, bought me a master built smoker at Bass Pro Shop, $200 electric box. And I thought, well, let's play with this. And of course I started pork butts and all that stuff. And next thing you know, my kids are in high school and I'm on, going to the board meetings of the Booster Club. And I'm kind of complaining that why do our boys soccer team look like they have Speedos on? Well, they didn't return all the, they got what they got. We're not ordering new ones. If they don't bring them back, you don't get. In other words, the AD didn't care for soccer. Boys sports had a hierarchy. Football was the ultimate.
Yeah.
Boys soccer was the last one. Swimming and soccer, they were near the bottom. And then girls sports were after that. And of course, girls soccer was at the bottom. Anyway, man. I was complaining about soccer shorts. And I said, well, we'll just go create our own booster club and go raise money and do it. And they don't do that. So the president stepped in and came up with the plan to get us new shorts. And as part of that plan, I ended up in the concession stand. That was kind of I'll scratch your back, you help us. So we got in there, started doing, concession stand stuff. And they had a menu and like a steak sandwich was on there. And, they were really proud of their steaks. It was good. Don't get me wrong. I asked them how much money we make on that. Everybody looked at me. I said, no, what's our margin on that? Everybody kind of looked at me again.
$1.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, who is this asshole? Right. We were making like 48 cents on a ribeye and selling it for $6, And, I kind of said, what are we here for? Well, everybody loves the ribeye. I go, yeah, but what are we here for? We went through the whole thing. Anyway, So we got rid of the ribeye. Everybody hated me. Coaches hated me more because they got free ribeyes, right?
Of course.
Oh, yeah. Y'all were negative money then.
Yeah. We went to pork chops, and I had a buddy that across town that had a butcher shop, and he double tenderized the pork chops, and we just threw them in a little bit of Schweppes and put a little seasoning on it, and away we went. And they're moist and tender, and we started killing it. And I was probably a year later, somebody came in and said, what do we do next to increase our margins? And I'm like, well, what do you mean? Well, it says here pulled pork has a higher margin than pork chops. And then so I said, well, who knows how to make, pulled pork? Nobody raised their hand. Right. So it's like, well, right. I'm equally capable of everybody in the room that didn't raise their hand. So I started playing around pulled pork, and someday down the road, we tried everything, the Dr. Pepper injections, all this stuff. We ran, Three Little Pigs, Chris Marks recipe for years. The Memphis, the all-purpose, and the Memphis with a little touch of cherry on the pork, and ran that. People started loving it, And the
such a good rub, touch of cherry. That's
the pork chops were selling, but we were using like a Lowry's, and it was really just salt. We had to do something different, so we started playing around with that. And somebody said, "Hey, you should go compete in a barbecue contest." And I'm like, "What?" you know, like you see on TV. I go, yeah, I know what you're talking about. They have them here. Oh yeah, in Lincoln, Illinois. So we're like, well, okay. And there was 4 of us that were pretty heavy into it. And we bought a smoker. In fact, we bought a good one, rodeo smoker. And like, well, yeah, okay, we could do that. You drink a little beer, cook a little pork. Sounds like a great time. But what we call ourselves? And I thought, well, we're from Chillicothe. We call it Chili here, right? We're from Chillicothe, and the town is known for gravel pits. So, and we're going to cook on a barbecue pit. So I thought we'd call ourselves the Chili Pits. Yeah. And it made sense to me. It made sense to me. From Chili, you're cooking on a pit, Chili Pit, right? And a buddy of mine goes, how about the Smoking Ghost? Because the IVC, Chillicothe is home of the Illinois Valley Central School, and their nickname is the Gray Ghosts. So hence Smoking Ghosts. Yes. And I kind of did one of those, you know, well, that doesn't suck, you know, but, you know, and I ended up, we called ourselves the first contest Smoking Ghost. And we learned a lot, but that's how the name Smoking Ghost came up.
I guess you should have kept the Chili Pits, man. I like that. That's me.
It's way better than the first team name that I was a part of, which was the Butt Rubbing Flamers, and I still have an apron that has that.
I bet you do.
Yeah,
the Butt Rubbing Flamers.
I'll wear it next time.
There you go.
Please do, man. Please do. Oh no, man. That's cool. So, what year did you get into barbecue? You said 20.
Well, I mean, our first official contest or ass kicking was 2016.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, well, I mean, here in the recent years, I feel like maybe it's just me because I mean, I've been in the game. I say the game. I'm not definitely not in your arena, but I've been in the game for since 2019. I feel like here in the last 3 years, everybody's just stepped it up a notch. It's like the scores that used to get you. You're guaranteed a top 5. Now you're lucky if you get a top 10. Have you noticed that on your kind of contest as well that you travel?
Yeah, and I'm a data guy, process and data guy, so I way overanalyze everything. Yeah, and I mean some of that, it's a good problem. I mean, just look at the NBA, right? If you'd taken a Steph Curry 3 in the 70s from there, you'd be on the bench.
Yeah,
right. If you played for Bobby Knight and you did that, you'd be on the bench, right?
With a chair in your face.
Yeah. I mean, it's the times. I mean, the capability in sports, and it's food sport. But I mean, you can also look at what, Brad and Tim Shear with the Barbecue League, right? Those videos, there's stuff that would take you years to get. Oh, you mean you cook chicken beyond 180? I didn't know that. Right. I'm like, wow, there's a lot of stuff that some of us that didn't have that, we just figured it out or didn't for years.
Yeah.
Now you can go do that and run that process. And heck, you could hit a home run the first game.
Yeah. I mean, I can't tell you how many, newbies you'll see, they'll come in and they're kind of, they had the first contest. I think every first contest you go to, you should go drink more beer than you worry about timelines. I mean, right? Get your ass kicked, have fun, have a blast doing it, and then you get the bug like all of us do, and then go hard at it from there. The first time, just have fun, get drunk. The second time, but I see people like taking such a big leap though. Like now, people are coming in the game, like year one, and they're just on fire. Yeah. And it's crazy to me that like the learning curve there's not one anymore. You're pretty much, there's such an abundance of information out there now with classes, online classes, barbecue league. Even just, watching, just going to a contest, seeing some people, you pick up so much stuff. It's tough, man. It's tough going out there now. 180s are not a it's like $1 million. It's like $100,000 cars, man. They're everywhere now. It's like 180s. About every contest you go to, you got 3 or 4 180s.
You don't see a lot in Illinois or Wisconsin 180s, but you're seeing them now. It used to be you'd never see them, but like Wisconsin 700, those are things you just don't see that in Bigfoot, right?
Right. But it's like, I'm sure like when you started off, like if you had like a 173, 174, I mean, you felt good about you're going to get, top 5 call or something like that. Now, if you're not 178 or higher, I mean, a lot of times you don't even, have a chance.
Yeah. Our first call was a port call. We were 6th with a 171.
Mm-hmm. Now you wouldn't even be top 15.
What do you think the biggest margin, let's say going into this season, because maybe it changes with different proteins. What do you think the biggest margin protein still is or is now? Is there biggest margin still in brisket? Is it chicken? Is it ribs?
You're talking about across all teams and standard deviation opportunity?
Yeah. Why not?
I would still say I would probably say brisket, then probably ribs. It seems like people can nail pork and chicken.
Not me anymore. I need to slide on to Logan's class and get my chicken scores up. Of course, he's also the guy that'll tell you it looks like the worst chicken he's ever turned in and turn around and 180. So always
is the worst chicken ever turned. I'll never say it's good. If you ask anybody,
ugly food wins, guys.
Ugly food wins. But then I'll see, I'll walk by Paul's and he'll show me pictures of his turn-ins. He said, "Yeah, man, I wasn't very happy with it today." I'm like, I would put a frame on that and hang it in my office.
I think it was sipping swine last year, maybe, and I would overcooked one of the monies, and I thought you would walk by, and I had my beer cooler open and had a bag with the money mussel, dropping it into the ice bath. I'm like, I screwed the pooch, right? And
did you get called?
And I 180.
That just goes to show you, man. It's not about how you start; it's about how you finish.
Absolutely.
And that's what separates guys like you from guys like us, man. I mean, you can screw up. I mean, you screw up. I'm sure you screw up dozens of times a year, and that's the best of the best screw up all the time. But it's knowing how to recover from it and how to you kind of hide it at the finishing table that kind of separates the boys from men.
See, but I got one story like that, right? And I've messed up a bunch of times. The ribs at Perry's event, Logan, that I sent you that I burnt to Chris and we got a 9th place call. Like sans that, for me, if I mess up, I messed up. Like it's over. I need to work on my rebound, I guess.
Absolutely. Paul, tell us a little bit about what you're cooking on now. Like what equipment do you use, and did you start off with it like that, or have you always?
Oh no, we never met a cooker we didn't like, right? We started on a Goodwin Rodeo. Well, I mean, in contest, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Then we got a Peoria cooker, which is, I'll call it a similar to a Jambo, over engineered, very heavy, backyard version. Then we went to the Jambo, and we haven't looked back. Now I do chicken. I've done chicken on a can and chicken on a Traeger, and I don't know why. Last year was my best year at chicken with the fewest contests I've cooked in a while, and I'm looking to move off the Traeger maybe to a Rectech.
I got you. So what makes you think? Because I personally feel that canned chicken it gets the best quality of a chicken for me. And I know a lot of people that cook on Outlaws and Jambos and whatnot, but you always see them with a little small can beside there. What's your opinion? Like we talked about on this show before, how different proteins on different smokers have their plus and minuses. Like I think pellet ribs make really pretty consistent ribs, and canned chicken, and then brisket and pork I feel like always does better on an offset for some reason. What is your opinion on something like that, or you think it's just learning your smoker? And yeah,
I mean, Southern Illinois and the St. Louis area, we call it can country. And for me to go down there and expect to win is probably a stretch, right? Not only do you have, Tim Shear and Brad getting basted, so to speak, the people who popularized the cans, but, you got a lot of other good cooks in Illinois, Triple H, then you got Jordan, and it's tough to see an offset get into the top 5 in those areas. And if you do, I'll say it politely, you gotta dirty up your finish. on that. So, I mean, obviously I do my chicken on the Traeger, but when I set my sauce on the chicken, I'm pouring a little au jus into the firebox, and I'm throwing pellets into the firebox just to get a little huffiness going on. And this year I got 4th down there, and that's my best finish in can country, and against that crowd, So there are some areas, you're coming in at a handicap, because I think ribs are probably the best off a can. And of course I got 180 last week in ribs, not on a can, but I wasn't in can country, right? I was in Nebraska, which is not a heavy can. Everything scores there. I mean, doesn't matter what you have, but I do think you can get a very distinct flavor on ribs on a can. And I'll probably play around with ribs on a can this year for sure.
Do you think? Go ahead. Do you think the can movement, right? Because you've been cooking long enough to see waves of style of cookers, and there was a can movement. Do we think it's still progressing that way, where teams are changing to a can from a different cooker, or is it kind of leveled off in your opinion?
It's still probably moving that way, but it is certainly not, the exponential curve that it has been on. It's just, I mean, there's so much ease at cooking on a can, right? You want to do a practice cook, you cook one meat on that can.
Yeah.
If you're doing it on a Jambo, you got to simulate the airflow, the mass. You can do it, but don't expect it to be representative of your timeline if you just do one meat, right? Try to do your ribs all alone on the Jambo. It won't be the same as when you got 4 pork butts and a brisket at the other end. It's just not the same.
I feel like a lot of people have done, who I've talked to, kind of the hybrid movement, where they'll have they'll start it on a can, or start it on something like that, and they'll finish in something else that kind of maybe like a pellet or an offset or something, or just something that holds temperature a little more. You get the quote unquote dirty kind of flavor off of the can, and then whenever you wrap it, I mean, at that point, it don't matter what you throw it in, essentially.
No, that's true, very true. I mean, Jordan, you look at his year he won Team of the Year. He switched to the can, right? We're in Wisconsin, and when you get in your own head, you're in your own head. Nothing anybody says is going to get you out of it. But he ended up going to the can, and survived that year to win Team of the Year. And the coaching from Bill really helped him get into that can. And he did it, like in a week, right? Whereas the rest of us, it would take months, right?
Yeah.
He flipped it across in a week, and then didn't look back, and still hasn't looked back.
Right. Do you think, like, so for me, what elevated my chicken game, or I started seeing better results, like, I like you said, dirty the can, like I put a base layer of lump charcoal, and then I do some briquettes on top to kind of just dirty that up. Do you think there's actually, I mean, you're data guy. Is there science behind that when it comes to what the judges are wanting, when it comes to like too clean of a fire versus kind of getting that, like, kind of, sooty, not sooty, but what I mean, that little,
I don't know. How do I say it? It's more regional, right? So when you got judges that tend to judge in the St. Louis area a lot, and maybe stretch north to Peoria, they do get a preference for what I'll call that can, the sizzle. And if you hear Brad, right, that fat hits the charcoal, comes back up. You're getting that, right? You get a little darker, right? It's not burnt, but it's a little darker. There are judges that do like that, right? I don't know that, across the globe here that it's a major problem, but you'll find areas where it's a little more pronounced. And Southern Illinois, there are contests, not like Murfreesboro. It's anybody's game. Cans, offset, who knows, right? But you get down to Troy, Illinois, or some of those other contests, it's more of a can game. But I'll tell you, I mean, Jordan won Collinsville. I reserved it. He did his ribs on a can. I didn't even use a can. So, I do think there are preferences, but I think it's more regional, and that the judges that happen to be from that region, right? So I don't think they travel with a bias. I just think, when they go to contests and they get a lot of cans, they get used to it.
Yeah. I mean, you're one of the, the serious competitors who, you travel all over. You're not like us. You kind of stay in a certain region. I mean, like you said, you're in Omaha last week. I mean, going like how many contests you do, and then like how like all do you think you do annually, and then how do you think different barbecue in different regions changes from one area to the other? Is it hard to kind of change your game, or do you kind of keep it all the same?
Yeah, we're coming down from our peak, right? I think we did like 35, 36, 37, something like that in 22. 23, we stopped cooking twice. And then got on the Jealous Devil chase and, just missed out on the biggest monies.
Yeah, that was...
but 25, 26, 27, is probably, I'm going to say somewhere between 20 and 26 this year, and maybe on the lower end of that. But yeah, we're coming down. We're not cooking as much. I'm tired, man. I cook alone, right? And it takes a toll. But your other question was, though, give me that back again.
Yeah, so like going to different regions, like I said, you cook all over. Do you kind of change? I talked to some people on here, and they kind of tweak their recipes. Do you kind of tweak your recipes, or you like, I cook what I cook, and then it is what it is?
My recipes are going to be 95% the same no matter where I go. For example, in the back of my ribs, Hallelujah Habanero, right? It's the Big Papa Smokers. It's always going to be on my ribs no matter where I go. If I go down to Florida, I'm going to back off on the just straight honey habanero, and I'm going to use the cherry apple habanero from Heath Riles because it's pretty mellow, right? And
glaze.
Yeah, and Florida likes sweet, right?
Right.
You learn that, and I mean that's other than Florida. The only other thing I tend to do is maybe I use Haunted Heat in my chicken sauce, and I'll yeah, exactly. I'll back off from like 4 tablespoons out of 24 ounces down to 2 or 1. If I go, I want it to be present, but I don't, you dial it down. If I go to Wisconsin, it's 1 or 2. If I go to Florida, it's 1 or 2. Everywhere else, it's going to be 3 or 4. Right. It's just, but I mean, that's all I do is dial a little bit of those edge pieces. And then how I finish, maybe I'll back off just a tad.
Aside from a good performance the previous year, how do you go about selecting the contest? Like, do you trophy hunt? Is it prize? Is it venue? Is it rep? Like what?
Jack hunting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there are certain contests that you just, the mojo of the contest itself, right? Sip and Swine is one of them, right? Just a good mojo. We go out, have dinner, we hang out, and as long as you don't get there late and have somebody turn their truck alarm off at 2 a.m. I don't know who that would be. Twice. But yeah, I mean, Lebanon, Smoking the Shores. I mean, we pop into the town social and have our bologna sandwiches. I mean, that's like religion now. Jason's just amazing down there with his contest. The Florida the 2 Florida contests I go to, I love them. Yeah, it's the reps. They do a great job, but it's just really relaxing down there. Good competition. Usually Darren's up there, maybe Luke, and this year Jordan's traveling down. We're going to head down there, and Buddy's going to be down there. So certainly got, we got to cook a little better down there this year with him down there. I don't know. I like Murfreesboro. I mean, I'd say it's the venue and it's the trophy. Okay. I went to Booster with one reason: get a trophy. That was
they're the best trophies.
Oh, and then same thing. The Atlanta barbecue store, they had those peaches.
Yep.
I was coming off World Food, and I'd never done one of those. I'll call it chefier cooks, right? And I wasn't the lead by any means, right? I was a hired hand to, just do a couple proteins. But man, I was tired after 5 days of cooking and, advancing and rearranging, and that was tiring. And 2 days later, I had to turn on and go to Atlanta, and I thought maybe I'll just cancel. And I'm like, nope, you want to get one of those peaches, right?
Yes, you do.
Oh, yeah. And even though it was
And how did we
tiring.
do in that one?
Yeah, he did all right.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah. You know the contest I missed. We're talking about trophies, and especially Illinois. I'm at Effingham. I used to. That was an amazing contest, the Effingham Jam,
Yeah.
and they did the. I mean the grand champion was a butcher blocks, man. That one that was like 300-pound butcher block. I'm like, that's so cool.
Yeah, I was able to help Jordan load his because I didn't win.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean that's right where he's at too, right near the area he's from. So, but yeah, no, that was my goal, is to get one of those before it went away. And my first and only DQ came in Effingham in pork,
Of all things.
right? 3 calls and a no turn in.
Oh no.
Yeah,
I think that was the first time I ever met you, was at Effingham. You don't remember, but it's the first time I met you and met Jordan. Was at that Effingham Jam, like 2020, I think it was, or 2021, something like that. But that was 2021. That was a really cool contest. And I remember they had a hell of a band that was down there that was rocking. I'm like, I'm gonna go sleep, and I'm like, no, I'm not.
well, if you like music and bands, Madison, Indiana. Oh my God, the Riverfest.
The blues.
Incredible, right? And they have, they have a venue for that, and not just. I mean, I won't say it's an amphitheater, but it's looking like an amphitheater. I mean, it's amazing. If you're going for the music, that is another one you go for.
Yeah, I mean, I would go for the trophies, but I haven't had much luck of those, so I guess I need to go for the music or something. But, no, and Effingham had that really good pizza joint. I remember on the square.
Yeah.
That I don't know, I forget what it was called, but it was it was really, really, really good. I was very impressed with it. That's when we were using.
You've gone from what? From Arizona to Wisconsin to Florida and east. How far?
New Jersey.
Okay.
New Jersey. Was that on so last year was your retirement tour, correct?
No, that was 2 years ago.
2 years ago. 2 years ago. So tell the people retirement part due.
I just got tired. I actually retired from Caterpillar, and literally the next day got in the trailer and headed to Sip and Swine.
Yep.
I got you.
And was kept awake all night. That's a different story. But that's where I met Matt, right? But and I had to give it a name, so I called it the retirement tour, and everybody thought, "Oh, you're giving up barbecue," and I really didn't elaborate ever on that. I retired from Cat.
I thought that. I'm like, and you're like one of the guys that like I know. There's certain people in the barbecue game that like I'm familiar with, and the names, and I'm like, oh man, we're losing a good one. And then apparently it was just like LeBron's farewell tour. It just you keep on going. You keep so good, you just keep on rolling around.
It's the Stones, man. They've been retiring since the 70s.
They're gonna keep playing until somebody starts paying.
Yeah, well, and then the next year we came up with, I was sitting down. I'm not going to call it Return of the Retirement Tour or whatever, or Still Retired. I think I did Still Retired, and then I was sitting in a hotel room, and Toby Keith passed away that night, and immediately I knew it. I was like, it's the Red Solo Cup Tour, right?
Solo Cup Tour. That's cool, man. So, talking about, you were going to say we're going to get on that. So not only do you compete, but you're also known for your sauces and rubs. You want to elaborate kind of how that got started and what you got? Anything new or anything like that?
Well, I'm the only barbecue guy that comes out with the product before he's gotten a single call. Right? Try to push your products without any knowledge of who you are, right? It's clearly the hardest way to do anything, right?
Market research.
Yeah, well, I didn't do much of that either. I changed the name on the product like 4 times, and each time I was buying, like 10,000 labels to bring the cost of labels down, until you realize when you change the label, then you got a bunch of sunk costs. I'll just tell you that Ghost Powder was not the correct name for the Yeah.
Any of those floating around
I'm a
still?
marketing guy. What's that?
I said, any of those labels still floating around?
Oh yeah, I got plenty of those labels.
He's got about 10,000 of them.
You might see them on boxes as packing strapping and that
There you
stuff.
go.
So yeah, I mean, it came about as an experiment, trying to work on brisket, right?
Mhm.
And I wanted a little more punch. I wanted a little sweet with a little heat, And I was up in Lake Geneva, and I'd been playing around unsuccessfully for a while. And a guy in there says, after I was in his store because my wife was shopping, and I wasn't going to go into the girls' stores and shop. I was going to either drink or I found a seasoning store, and I went in there and started looking around. And the guy hit me up like 3 times over 45 minutes. What are you looking for? Oh, nothing. And it finally hit me up again. I go, well, I'm trying to do this, and I want a little sweet with a little heat. Every time I do it, I get the sweet and heat together, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, we need some white pepper. I said, okay, I'll take some. He goes, what kind? And I'm like, oh, so, what do you mean what kind? I thought it was white pepper, right? Anyway, so he kind of got me into a little bit more of the nuances, and I probably spent like $70 of money in that store on
White
different types of white peppers, right? And we started playing around, and then I took it to Excalibur. And the one thing I thought was, well, if you can reproduce this and it's 80% as good, I'll be happy. What I didn't realize is they're going to bring it back, and it's like 120% better than I gave it to them. And it makes sense afterwards. When you look at any co-packer, their ingredients are going to be fresher. They're going to be, they just got the volume in that. And when I think, well, God, I just bought it last week. Yeah. Well, how long has it been on the shelf? How long was it in the factory? Supply chain lead time on that. And you start thinking about, well, I guess you're right. But so I came out with that, and our marketing early on was just give it to guys around us in competition. We got into a lot of the stores in the Peoria area and the butcher shops and that. Had some immediate following, but it was in Indiana at CCS Fest in Indianapolis. One of the guys came back next to me and said, hey, my buddy's cooking with me this weekend. Can I get an extra bottle? I said, sure. He ended up being the buyer for Kroger. And I don't know, I was on my way to Florida to visit my mother-in-law, and I got a call in the airport, and they wanted my product in Kroger. And I'm like, really?
Wow.
Can I get back to you? I got to do a little homework, like pricing and volume and all that stuff. So actually, Heath Hall, who was one of the big guys in National Barbecue Association, I gave him a call, and he coached me on the basics of how to do retail and how to come up with the math and, what overhead to put in there. And he even said, hey, for a deal like this, go call your co-packer and see if they'll come with you, giving you some discounts to get into the store. And everything. And it was from then on, it really started taking off. It really, but that was the original rub. And I called it steak and brisket rub, and could have left it there, but I was smart enough to change it to ghost powder, which, immediately got people calling, does it have ghost pepper? I was like, oh, that was a mistake. But yeah, we just changed it to all purpose rub, because my buddies were putting it on corn. Again, I'll mention, I'm not a marketing guy. They're putting it on corn. They were putting it on pork. And I was like, guys, it's a steak and brisket rub. And kind of to prove my buddies wrong, I sent it into the National Barbecue Association, and I put it in the seafood category. And I thought, I'll show them, right? It won. And I was like, okay. So it was that moment in time when I realized I actually got to listen to customers. I got to, it isn't what Paul was trying to, here's what it's for. Use it the way I tell you. It's, hey, if you like it that way, buy more,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Hey, once you buy it, put on anything, put on,
Yeah. And
dog food. It's fine.
That same thing with the sauces. A buddy of mine had a product, Pity Q, and he wanted to get out, and, we were chatting, and, he was going through some scenarios, and I was like, well, how about I license it? No, how about, so I finally ended up buying it, but I wanted to move co-packers. I wanted to get it out of glass. There it is, the Spooky Sweet and the Haunted Heat. I wanted to get out of glass and get it into plastic so they don't have all the shipping issues and the breakage, and got that moved. And he was with me when we were doing some of the testing of the product. And the Haunted Heat, I got a call from the co-packer. I know we sent you some. We know it's not right. We're going to change it next time. And I thought, oh, must be horrible if he's apologizing for the shipment he just sent. We opened it up, and we were like, wow, that's different. right? I mean, it's just different, and
Yeah.
and I told him, don't you change a damn thing.
I
You're
want
like, give me
that.
that recipe.
Yeah, it was 2 tries and he nailed that, and it nailed it to not even where I actually had originally told him to go. So
Mhm.
that's how, and you just know when you know, and you just stop right there. But the Spooky Sweet took some time.
I got you. Well, like I said, I've tried. I think I've tried all your products except for the spooky or the heat. I only have had the heat one, and I tell you what, man, they're knocked out of the park. I mean, everybody that I know that have tried it, and I know a lot of people that use it in their programs, and it's a fantastic product. And congratulations on that, man. That's it's especially, man, getting into Kroger. I know people that's been in this game forever who, not into a facility like that. So that's
Well,
definitely saying something.
Sometimes it's dumb luck, right?
Right.
And I mean, I'll take dumb luck.
Because
Oh,
you
all day.
have
Lucky over good all day long.
you have 4 current products, correct?
Correct.
And is there a 5th or 6th?
Well,
down
there's
the
a couple
pipe?
things we're playing with. Sweet Rub, and I'm not ready to send it to a co-packer yet. So I mean, I haven't even put it in any of my comp practices. And then the other thing, which is a little bit out there, is just a spicy ketchup.
There you go.
I find myself always searching for something and bringing a bottle with me when I go to restaurants because I want a little more zip than a ketchup, and so we're playing with that. So I got a name for it, but Ghost Fire ketchup,
Okay.
But I don't know. Last time I did any naming, I went out and did use social media for all the names, right? I had them come up with them, and they submitted them. I put them out there, paired them against each other. Oh, there's Sailor Nick.
There he is.
I pitted them against each other, and then just basically let the public decide the name. And if I'd gone with what I thought it was going to be, again, it wouldn't have been the right name. So, and then I even had the audience pick the colors for the caps and everything. Right?
Nice.
There you go.
Well, I mean, it's free, right?
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
You give away some products with it, but that's cheap compared to hiring real professional marketers.
Absolutely. And like I said, not only are you trying to transition, not only are you're a great competitor, great successful rubs and sauces, but you're also recently you're on the KCBS board member. Tell me how you thought about doing that and how that kind of came about.
Some people would.
Yeah, no. I mean, if you know me, I'm all about data, facts, opportunity. And is there a better way? Looking at tables, trying to figure that out. Was there too many tables? All these things, right? And it was it was coming off the COVID year. Trying to think where I was at. Warsaw, Indiana. And after your first GC, that was in September of 19. You just assume you're going to go on this upward slope, right? And man, I looked a lot like an airplane going down. And so I was pretty frustrated, but I knew I turned in a good brisket, right? And I had the burn ends in there, and I think Stan from Rub My Rack was next to me. I haven't tried one of the burn ends, and I was going to be the last one to turn in, so it really didn't matter. And I knew I had a horrible cook. I mean, things just weren't right. And I said, "What do you think about tenders?" Oh, spot on. It's all right. So I turned them in, and I got 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6. I was like, oh, 6s on that, really? And somebody said, yeah, well, there was, some new judges there, and they gave me a comment, too fatty. And so I kind of complained to one of the reps, and he threw it back in my face. Well, if you want to, rather than complain, why don't you join this team that's getting together and get on a committee and help, it was J Cup. That's where the J Cup came from. And I said, yeah, I'd love to be on it. And that's where I met Charles Cridlin. He was the leader of that committee. And, they were like, well, going through what modules, how we're going to do it, very methodical, right? And I don't know, I had about 15 to 20. And he was very methodical about where he was going to go, crossing over between the judges, the reps, So he had a good cross section of membership, and I just like, I want brisket. I'll take brisket because I want to make sure that we actually provide a script or content on how to judge a burn end. Because if we don't do this, I mean, I'm going to say more than probably half the field doesn't even cook burn ends anymore.
Right.
Right. And I think that's a tragedy. Now, I'm not saying you need to turn them in, but you should have the opportunity to turn in burn ends without the fear that you get somebody that says, I don't know what a burn end is. It's too fatty. Mm-hmm. Right. And, thank God we had people on the committee that were, writers, tech writers, because I told them, I'm going to write what I think, and you got to change it into the correct language. Because I think I wrote, I don't give a shit if you don't like burn ends. They do contain fat. Your job as a judge is to figure out how well the cook rendered out that fat, without making it mush and without making it bubble gum, right? Yep. So, I mean, that was kind of the module, and that a little tongue in cheek there. But I did send that to Childs as the first draft just to have fun with them. But they wrote it right. They took the words, and I had help, on that. I think it was Bill Jones. I think was the one to help me on that. And I thought the J Cup was a tremendous success. I'm sure there's people that don't like it, but it created a standard of which to judge against, right?
Right.
And for the first time, we really addressed burn ends. So for me, that was important. So,
I got you.
After that, I got the taste of doing something, and then at the Royal, I was sitting there next to Stan, and I'm like, and there's an opportunity here. Never let a good crisis go to waste, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do we need money for a new score program? Because I really had no idea what was going on, right? I'd run some contests. I've been in the tent. I know the process, but I had no idea what the problem was, right? And everybody's hearing rumors, but I didn't know. So I just assumed we needed money for a new program. That was 100% the problem, which it isn't. And there's a myriad of things. But then, so it was on again, off again. And finally I decided, no, the background that I have, Six Sigma, master data, kind of thing at Caterpillar is very regimented. I manage portfolios for the company. We set goals. We measured, are we on track to those goals? I really would like to, implement that. Right. And so when we make a decision, well, how does that align with the goals? Increase the value of membership, grow the membership, put these goals out here and then come up with a way to measure these ideas or things we should do, right? Raise more money. Well, that's a good one, Paul. Things that actually have some merit, right?
Right.
And how you do that. So that's kind of where I'd like to kind of head. And in going into my second year, that's kind of what I'm pushing for.
I got you. What is one of the major, problems or issues that you've heard from, friends or just people in general in the barbecue world? Like, what is something like you've seen as some major concerns? Is it mainly the scoring? Is it mainly, the transparency of it, or what is something that you've kind of, the biggest issue that the KCBS as a whole needs to tackle?
Well, when I was coming aboard, for me being a cook, and you got to look at every party's interest, right? If you look at a cook's interest, right, they're going to have different interest than the cook, right?
Sure.
But when you kind of put them all together, and that's really what happened in my first year. I wanted to come in and talk about table seating program. I know Childs and I were on the same page. We got to do something, got to do something. And then you realize, look, we got to manage the cash flow. We got to manage this program called SCORE. So it's like, okay, as I prioritize things, what I came in for mentally wanting to make a change on had to move down, right? I had to set it down, and we had to do some other things, right? And so it's like, well, don't lose sight of that, right? But what we never did as a group is to prioritize them all together, right? And compare them. So that's kind of where I want to go. But some of the things you hear sound like problems, but they're more results, right? There's not enough contest, right? I got to travel too far. The prize purses are proportionately less than they've ever been. You start hearing all these things, and Are they problems? No, they're more out in my mind. They're outcomes of a systemic, thing going on here.
Yeah.
So those are the major things. There are some people tell you that scoring is a problem. It's too high now, right?
Mm.
I don't know.
You're not gonna make everybody happy. I mean, it's
right. I think the appreciation of scores is like any sport, right?
Mhm.
Home run distances are greater than ever, right? I mean, just it's just better now.
Right.
I really think our big issues are going to be growth of the sport,
Mhm.
and I don't necessarily think you got to grow the 4-meet category. I'm not saying that means we're going to have to grow the 2-meet category. I'm saying we got to do other things to
Mhm.
to complement what we call food sport, right? Whether it's a burger battle, whether it's a griddle battle, whether we got to get people interested in this sport that who's going to want to come down the street with a entry level a Traeger or Rectech and compete against me and my trailer and my Jambo, right? They're just not going to do it, right?
Mhm.
There's still some nut jobs out there who, I think I can, I know I can, they will,
Well,
but I
and
think,
here's the key. We want them and we want to coach them, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's the thing. The good news about barbecue is everybody will help coach you,
yeah.
right? Sometimes it's good.
Which we talk
Mhm.
about how, Logan always says that first comp, that first team, and usually they get a call, right? And that's kind of the hook. I think it's actually a little bit deeper, in my opinion. I think it's, yes, if they get a call, they get some accolades or recognition. But so long as they don't go so far out of the parameters, I think it's the camaraderie, you know.
Yeah.
Uh
Sure,
I-
absolutely.
that communal, Mike Mills saying, like, just that fact that people are so friendly, giving,
Mhm.
is a kind of shock from, because we don't know what type of walk of life or where they come from, but they come there and they're just like, well, hey, how you doing? What do you need? Da, 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 I think that's one of the things that barbecue has best going on still.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
No,
I mean,
I agree.
you come for the bowling trophies and you leave with camaraderie of other people. To me personally, one thing I feel like a lot of times you see reason why a lot of these great contests, such as we talked earlier about Effingham, you lose some of those contests like that. There were staples in the area. It's there's, and I don't know the answer to this. It's something is crowd participation. We need to figure some way to make barbecue more of an exciting sport for crowd. I mean, Lord, if the chess federation can do it, surely the hell we can as barbecuers. I mean, come on. I mean, we gotta figure something somehow. There's gotta be a format out there, some great mind they can figure, bring the public and the cooks together and make it a grand event. Because I mean
Well,
that's something you hear from a lot of promoters is what does a barbecue contest bring to my event, and it's nothing or very minimal in most situations.
right. I think insanity is when people come wandering into a barbecue event and they're like, "Where can I get barbecue?" Oh, I'm sorry, you can't. What?
Right. Yeah.
I saw it on TV. They were announcing on the riverfront they got and I can't get barbecue, and you're like, yeah, it just doesn't make sense, right? But now, so Charles Cridlin has been the organizers work leader for at least the last year, and they've got some organizer handbooks, and it's really good. It kind of coaches an organizer now, like Jarvis doesn't need it. He's been doing People's Choice and things like he knows what he's doing. But
Yeah.
for the first or second year person or the person saying, "Well, this is fun and great, but I'm not seeing it in my wallet," right? You were doing all this work, and it's like $1 an hour. It seems like instead of when you look at it down to a wage. So we've got to make barbecue more public. Absolutely. Guess what? Sponsors want to be around public impressions, right? They want to know
Mhm.
how many people are coming through, et cetera. So, and we know that our World Invitational this year is going to be a public event, right? So, and we're doing things, simple things, People's Choice, for example, right? We're going to sell tickets to the public for People's Choice. There's going to be VIP bit tours and things like that, and there's going to be music. There's going to be a beer tent. all targeted around bringing the public in.
Might
That's
even
a
be a
great-
local barbecue food truck slinging a version of competition barbecue.
Well, I'm not on that portion of the committee that's bringing in the vendors, but yeah, I hear there are some people that are making headways.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I think that's great. And that's, like the main thing is like, cause we got to keep the public interest, and we got to, cause A, it brings in new blood, and B, it, helps these organizers want to, host these, barbecue events. Otherwise, if there's no more events, then we're just a bunch of idiots with overpriced cooking equipment with, we're a bunch of, essentially we're all tailgating at that point, and that's my biggest thing. Like, I wish we could just, figure out a way, like you say. I mean, what you're saying that they're doing at the World Invitational sounds like a fantastic time, and I think it's going to be a great, environment and bring the community into it. Another thing is, being in the backyard myself, so it kind of speak for the little guys, but I'm trying. I feel like the backyard to the pro. It's that the question you get every time you talk to pro people or pro friends, like, when are you gonna make the jump? When are you gonna make the jump? That's another thing. I feel like professional, and especially in the pro level, it's the cost of admission to even get to the contest. It's pretty it's pretty high. I mean, it's not a cheap hobby we have. You're spending a minimal $1,000 a weekend on just stuff like that. So taking having it just be 2 meet versus 4 meet events, I think it's another step in the right direction, where you kind of take that backyard stigma out of it. Because some people can't afford the $200 briskets or whatever like that, but they still want to get into the hobby of ribs, chicken, and even pork.
Well, I thought the addition of the 350 pin was
that was a great
I don't know how long it was
like
coming. I was very pleasantly surprised at Brian's.
And I'm going to say, guys, Thomas Gerhardt was the leader of that backyard work group. I was co-chair. I'd love for us both to take credit, but all we did was listen to something that has been out there for like a year from that work group. And we kind of looked at each other and goes, "This is a no-brainer," right? I don't know why. I mean, I wasn't on the past boards, why that wasn't out there. I know
that's pretty easy.
I think it was MABA that out east that would give their own 350 pin to the backyard, and which was great for them. We're not trying to outdo them. We just think, if you can get a 700, you can get a 350.
Yep.
Right. Absolutely. Definitely show the backyard guys some love, and that kind of, from the KCBS standpoint, showed the backyard some recognition and respect. And I think that'll go a long way in the community.
As well as, right, this year was the first year we had the overall team of the year.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And, everybody's like, well, why don't we do that? Now, obviously there's some nuances when you have events that are 3, category 4, category 2, category, when you, without getting too geeky, when you got a multi-dimensional arrays and you're trying to merge them, if they're dissimilar,
right.
You
just gotta be on, all equal playing fields. But I mean, I think, and that was another great thing, the overall team of the year. Everybody was very excited to see that this year. Whenever they did post the scores, we were wondering halfway through the season, we're like, is it going to happen? But they finally got there.
Yeah, the technology we thought was easier. Now we don't do it. We have a company, Veith, that does that. They also own the Member Leap program we run, but we thought it would be a little quicker to get done. So we had to kind of poke it a little bit. But yeah, do you guys remember who sponsored the winning backyard team? Anybody know who sponsored him?
Let's see.
Anybody?
Smoking Ghost, maybe?
Yeah. Okay. He killed it, and he did it in like record fashion. When he cooked like 10 contests.
Yeah.
I mean, he was number one. After that ass kicking he handed to everybody at Smoke on the Shore, I think he was like top. He was running away with it. He cooked 6 contests and was first place in about everything for a while there. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I love Weeze. He's a hell of a cook.
Even in the rib burn, he kicked my butt in the rib burn.
Oh, I mean, yeah, dude. He made because he got top 5 in the rib burn, didn't he?
Yeah, something like that.
like I said, I mean, that just goes to show you, like, just because somebody's classified as backyard or to me like that, I mean, that doesn't mean that they're, any less qualified to,
No.
keep up, and especially in those two categories. I mean, there's some backyard cooks that are equally as good as anybody in the pro circuit, and Weeze is a prime example.
Yep.
So, but no, man. Well, this is the time of show where we do the Brothers Q Barbecue Supply lightning round, brought to you by Brothers Q Barbecue Supply for all your barbecue needs. Gonna ask you a few questions, quick little one hitters. Don't think too hard about it. And you ready to go?
Sure.
All right, man. When you're doing at a contest and you got a walk up song, what's that song going to be?
The Rolling Stones. You want to know what song?
Yeah, I would love that.
Living in a Ghost Town.
Living in a ghost town. Living in a ghost town. That's great. When you're at a barbecue contest, what is one thing you always have with you and you cannot say your thermometer or thermopin?
Well, it'd be Spooky. Sits on my little ghost.
Mm-hmm.
He used to make sounds and move, but he's gotten old like I have. He sits on the Traeger and watches the temperature.
People may or may not know this about you, Paul, but you're also a bourbon connoisseur and lover of all the things brown water from Kentucky. What is one bourbon that you think is what's one bourbon that's your favorite and one that you think is overrated?
Favorite. Ooh, to name one's hard. CYPB forever has
Weller.
been. Weller CYPB is my favorite. The double oaked I just got from Woodford. The double oaked, right?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
it's
solid.
Yeah, it could maybe supplant the CYPB. I don't know if it will, but it could. But that's that.
That's that distillery only release.
Is that what I had at the Royal?
No, not double.
No,
okay.
Double is a distillery only release, pint only.
I finally got into that finally. And of course, every time I turn now, I can't not find it. But overrated.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah, I'd pick them. I don't know. Old Fitzgerald, maybe. I'm not a
Old Fitz.
I'm not an Old Fitz guy.
Yeah, I say I'm not a Four Rose guy.
My son-in-law should not watch this because he loves it.
Well, it's like anything, man. You got your diehards. Like I'm a big Weeder fan, so Elmer T is one of my all-time favorites. It's just a nice, easy drinker. And if I'm hit the lottery and feeling bougie, a little William LaRue Weller, but I'm a Weeder head when it comes to the bourbon. But so another question I want to ask you is over under, like you said, 20 to 25 contests. What do you think is the mark on when the barbecue contest that goes from just having a good time to I'm serious about chasing points? Like what is that mark you feel like I'm a serious competitor?
You mean the number of contests?
Yeah, number of contests. Yes.
I'd say 16.
16 and over, you feel like that's a serious. Yeah.
Once you cross 16, you're kind of making a commitment.
I got you. If you had to do a barbecue Mount Everest, not Mount Everest. What am I thinking?
Rushmore.
Thank you. A meat Rushmore. I'm screwing up here. Barbecue meat Rushmore. Who's going to be on that mountain for you?
Whew. Certainly Tuffy. Probably Darren, Tuffy, Brad, probably Travis. And there's probably some of the old guard that I'll be honest with you, I don't even know them all. I never competed against them. I shouldn't say that. There's one that I competed against, and that's QAL. Again, just recently put into the Hall of Fame. Those would be immediately some of the Hall of Fame, the Mount Rushmores I'd see. But, I hear stories about True Bud. I wasn't around during the True Bud era. So it's hard for me to have a perspective on that.
Sure. If you could have or only pick one contest, I can say, Paul, I guarantee you're going to take first place. What would that contest be?
I'd love to tell you Eureka, Illinois, where I suck. It's the closest contest to me. It's a can country, and I always get my butt kicked. and I'd love to win that, but I'd probably have to say the Jack.
The Jack. I mean, that's definitely not a bad choice. Anytime you can guarantee a world championship, I'd take that all day. And last but not least, that's true. That's the top gun right there. That's the best of the best when you show up at the Jack. Last but not least,
win in Georgia, it gives you a good draw opportunity to get there.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right. Last but not least, what is one thing you know now that you wish you knew at the beginning of your barbecue career?
Relax.
Relax. That is
I just take everything way too seriously. What you see now is a fragment of what I used to be.
You usually tell on the walk back from turn-ins.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I've learned more to relax and take things in stride. Because again, I'd measure the process of cooking as well as the outcome. And if the process sucked and I got third, I wasn't happy. And if I won it with a bad cook, I'd be upset about the process, right? Mm-hmm. So, I've had to learn that it is what it is, right? Don't try to control everything, right? Because I try to control everything. So, and that's why I had to learn to relax. And, it's running at 255, not 250. Now what do I do, right?
Take a sip of beer. Calm down.
Yeah, go get a beer. Exactly.
Yeah.
By the time you get back, it'll be back to 250. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. What like I said, what do you think it is? Like 60, 40, 70, 30 skill versus luck? I mean, because in this hobby we have, there's a good percentage of it that's pretty lucky. You can only do so much, and then it's up to the barbecue gods. Yeah,
when you're at a contest that has more than 4 tables, right? Then you're gonna have a factor of luck, right? Because the tables, today aren't always created equal. So I don't know. I'd say there's probably a 15% factor of, where you land that you can't control.
Sure.
I don't know, 10% maybe. I've still seen good cooks do well even on bad tables.
Mm-hmm.
They probably would have done a lot better on other tables. One example, in fact, it was I think Sailor Nick. I got to see his table score tally for Lakeland, Florida. He ended up third down there. Pretty darn remarkable. And the variation across the tables was 3 points. 3 points.
Wow.
Right. I'm like, I've not seen that tight of a standard deviation, at a contest with 5 or more tables. So I know Gene and Charlie and those guys were all down there running that, but and there's always the concern how many new judges are there and all that. But but for that standard deviation, I'm not saying there wasn't good or bad tables. I'm just saying that standard deviation was close.
Right.
So I was really impressed with the tables coming out of Lakeland.
I've seen bad cooks hit a good table before and just, got it. That happens every now and then.
Well, anytime it's a personal preference kind of scoring system versus, points like in a football or basketball, you're going to have the deviations and, personal preference. So, but no, man. Well, Paul, thank you so much for coming on, man. I truly appreciate it. You're definitely one of the good ones out there, and one I'm always keeping my eye on, especially when I see you walking up there at the getting them trophies. But let the people know here if you got anything coming up or where they're going to see you next and where they can find your wonderful products.
Well, we're going to roll down to Florida and do the double down there, the Davenport and Haines City. So that's where they'll see me next, or could see me. I'll extend it a few days for my mother-in-law's 96th birthday.
Wow. Happy early birthday.
Yeah. Do the math right. 8. And this is what, 97. Sorry.
Okay. Wow.
I got to do math every year. But that's one of the things I'll be down there doing that. But our products are at a lot of the barbecue stores, not all of them, but all the majors. You can find it online at smokeandghostbbq.com, and there's a store locator that needs to be updated. I'm a little delinquent on that. But we'll be here probably in the next month, we're finishing our warehouse on property where, the trailer, and I'll move everything out of the house into there, and we'll move all the product from the other 3 warehouses into there. And that'll be fun to actually have everything in one pick, pack, and ship location.
Sounds
Nice.
awesome, man. Well, I hope everything goes well. I know that's stressful, but knowing you, I'm sure it'll turn out awesome. But man, thank you so much.
Where am I going to see you next, Logan?
You'll see me at Smoke on the Shore, where I kick everything off and get my ass kicked. So
I got
look out for the biggest man in barbecue getting his butt kicked. That'll be me.
Turn in on time this year. On time.
I'll be on time. I may be last, but I'll be on time this time. I promise. I assure you. But man, I truly appreciate it, Paul, and I'm looking forward to see you here in March. So
Right.
take care, buddy.
Appreciate
See you,
it.
man. All right, man. That's another one.
Yes,
Another one
sir.
on the charts, man.
Big barbecue mentor of mine. I have the opportunity. He has, for whatever reason, allowed me to kind of, by design, cook next to him, and that has been a huge influence on my game. I'm not doing him justice because he has given me so many pointers. But that man is he's crafted, he's passionate, he's a genius, he's very intellectual. He's just a really damn good cook.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. He's probably forgotten more than I know when it comes to the barbecue world. So it was great to have him on. So anyways, man, that's our show tonight. Next week, you want to tell the people who we got coming on?
Yet to be seen, unless I'm forgetting. Have I? No, yes. So long as that hasn't changed, I believe we have if you're a little bit of a thief and you might get some loot, and if you're a little rotund, you might have some booty. But I definitely believe
that's a long way around saying loot and booty.
Yes, it's just Sterling.
No, man, we got Smitty from Loot and Booty coming on next week. It's going to be an awesome one. Make sure to tune in. Rusty and the boys will be here kicking ass as always. But, man, that is all me and Matt have for you tonight. So, without further ado, when it comes to barbecue, make sure you're always right on cue. See you guys.
Peace.
That's all, folks.